Hey everybody, Lazy Gardener here. It's June 10th, 2024. It's time for our annual garden tour. We had one last year, but we didn't upload it because we had a little bit of a technical glitch with some of the footage. So this is the first one you'll see in the last 2 years. And a lot of stuff has changed, but a lot of stuff is the same in the garden. So over here we have carrots, an essential in any home garden. These are fantastic. They're a little too young still. Here, I can probably pull one out for you. Here, we'll pull one here because these are a little densely planted. You'll see how they're coming along, and they're a little babies, but soon enough they'll be large enough to eat. Next to them is some beets. They're coming along. They're actually ready to start harvesting. Got some red ones and some golden ones and some white ones. Over here we have our squash section. These are butternuts. And these are spaghetti squashes. These are going to be just friggin' gigantic once they get going. So you want to do stuff like this if you grow these. You'll want some support and a lot of room. Here we use tomato cages and these vinyl wiring with some poles. We'll come over this way. And we can see some leeks over here. Starting here, there's some onions in this box. I got a lot of onions this year. If you come over this way, as you come this way, you'll start to see these onions, which were started from seed, are really starting to blow up already. And then over here, we've got tomatoes, a nice set of Brandywine tomatoes. These are my second batch of tomatoes. We'll see the earlier ones down there. And as I always tell every year on this channel, is that if you want to have tomatoes all season long, you've got to do succession plantings. Do not do these tricks where you're spraying and you're trimming and you're clipping and all these kind of things to try and get your tomatoes to last all season. It's just so much easier. Just spread out your plantings. Over here we have cucumbers. Again, they're just getting starting to take off. And again, you'll want to support cucumbers if you grow them true. They like to grow vertically. And this is a pretty simple setup, goes up very quickly, and it'll support the cucumbers for the season. Over here, and I think I skipped it over there, we have garlic. I have 2 boxes of garlic. This year I was experimenting with some real dense plantings. It's gonna be very interesting to see. If you follow my channel, you'll see the results of this experiment where I've planted them at essentially double density over there. Based on a whole bunch of internet tips that says that you will get not just more garlic, but even larger bulbs planting them that much closer together. So that would be great if that worked out. Over here we have sweet potatoes. One of a bunch of boxes of sweet potatoes too. We love these. These work out fantastic. Once I learned how to store them, the key is to be able to store these. They will provide you with sweet potatoes all winter long. Coming through here, I was going to pull this out because I'm going to put some potatoes here, some later potatoes. But I wanted to leave this. I thought this would be interesting for the tour. This is various spring vegetables flowering. You may never seen that before. So this is lettuce that's flowering. It'd be very bitter to eat this. You would not want to eat this right now, but quite pretty when the flowers open. This is romaine lettuce going to flower. It's going to put out shoots like that soon too. Over here would be beets. So that's what a beet flowering looks like. And then if you come around here, this is arugula flowering. And it makes these tiny little pods that have seeds in them. Those aren't quite ripe. Okay, so if we come over here, in this zone, we have some more sweet potatoes. These are called Hernandez. They're orange fleshed sweet potatoes. They're quite nice, but I really prefer the other ones that I showed you. Those are called red Japanese, and they have purple on the outside and white flesh, and they're quite awesome. Over here is the garlic that we skipped over last time. These are just continuing the spacing experiment, so you'll want to follow or monitor the channel for later in the season for that video. Now over here we have kale, and this stuff was planted last year, and it's really doing something very interesting. It's bolting, it's going to flower, and kale produces like these little broccolini type heads. You see over here and over here, over here. Okay, and it is prolific. It's got so much of this, and you just clip them all off and you make them like broccolini, and yeah, it's really an amazing vegetable. I'm really impressed with this. It was an experiment this year. Let's go down to the lower orchard and check that out. Okay, so we're in the lower orchard, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on down here. Let's start here. This is celery. I would say this is the least success story I've had so far this season. This has what's called curly leaf. I believe it's a form of an infection called anthracnose, but the celery itself is quite edible. It just has these unsightly leaves, and I'm hoping that it's going to grow out of it, but I believe it's because I planted it between these two things, and it's not getting enough airflow. It's only my second year growing celery, so I'm still learning. It's possible there's some other causes, and if there are, and you know what it is and what I should do about it, leave a comment below. Over here we have broccoli. I've got 6 broccoli plants. That's a good amount to feed a family with some decent broccoli. You can see it is starting to form broccoli heads, and if we wait a little, those will get very big. And then after that, you don't cut the whole plant down. You come back and it'll give you side shoots, very similar to what the kale you saw in the kale, just with a slightly different flavor. And then, as I've discussed in my past tours, these are to keep out the very particularly white moths that just love brassica plants and basically ruin them by eating them and pooping all over them, and we don't like that. So we put these on. There's not fail-safe in terms of some other bugs can get in here, especially slugs, but it keeps the white moths out very, very well. Over here, we have, you know, just an interesting structure that I built to support my peas out of this vinyl wire and PVC. Very, very cheap. Goes up easy. Totally does the job. You'll see here we have, these are shelling peas. So I have 2 racks of shelling peas growing here. And then as we move this way, we get into the snow and snap peas. This rack here is snow peas. If you want to, snap peas, excuse me, if you want to get in there. And then in this rack here we have snow peas. They look great. You can eat them right off the vine. Delicious. Over here we have beans. I like to mostly grow 3 kinds of beans. I grow dry beans. These are Portuguese beans, very similar to large Italian flat beans. These are just so many uses for these. And then over here is your classic string bean in what we call bush style. So these guys will not get very tall, but these are pole style. They grow very, very tall, and I think ultimately these are more productive. I have 2 more of these I'm going to install over there. I'm going to plant another whole box of these types of beans. They're so great. You can freeze them. You can do all kinds of things. Coming around, over here we have the first box of potatoes. These are the red potatoes. Really great, and it's not too hard to keep them and store them for long periods of time. These will feed you all winter. I actually plant these in 2 batches so that the ones that are picked later will last longer, so that you can still have potatoes in March and April and sometimes even May. Over here we have another box of onions. This is my main batch of onions. These are planted from sets. So if you've ever seen like these little tiny onion bulbs in a bag, you get 50 or 100 of them in a bag and you plant them. It's a really great, easy way for any gardener to get going with onions. I highly recommend it. The other ones you saw were started from seed. Those take quite a bit of work. It's only really if you're really serious about trying to get the biggest onions you can. This is just absolutely otherwise the way to go is to buy sets. Told you I'll fill that box with beans, and we'll come on over here. Here and on this other side I have some cabbages. These are collard greens. Cabbages, they just grow up and up. They won't really give you a head, but they give you great cabbage leaves. These are head cabbages. This is Savoy, that kind of crinkly cabbage, very, very healthy. Over here is a megaton, which is just another type of head cabbage. And those will get really large. You might even come in here and take some of those leaves to give them some room. Coming over this way, we have tomatoes. If you'll see, these tomatoes, these are my earlier tomatoes, so they were already several feet tall. And they're buried almost a foot in the ground. And what we have here is how I like to support tomatoes using tomato cages, because I have so many of them, is to stack them on top of each other. And I did a video about that. So there should be a link right here you could click if you want to see how I support my tomatoes using tomato cages, using a trick I haven't seen anywhere else on the internet. Over here, this box is my zucchini and summer squash box. I've got 4 in now. I have 5 more coming. I'm trying to spread them out. I'm trying to do a little bit of a different method this year to try and spread out my zucchini, because it seems like otherwise you just get so much at once and then the plants die. So that's an idea. I'm trying a little bit of a different support system this year to see whether that also helps. If you come through over here, we won't make this part long. This is just another whole box of those red Japanese sweet potatoes, because we just cannot get enough of them. We love them. And over here, these are the white potatoes called Mega Chip. The last thing we can do is go check up by the greenhouse, because we've got one more section of the garden to see. Okay, we're in the last part of my garden here, and we have a family favorite over here, fava beans. If you want to see, they're really in full swing. They're really getting nice and big and tall, and you got to really support them. With fava beans, I'll give you one tip. If you decide to grow these, you really have to watch for aphids, and you can use insecticidal soap to control them. It's perfectly organic and acceptable. As you can see here, I've got a small population that's out of control. I'm going to spray that quickly, but the rest of the plant looks fantastic. It's just an isolated outbreak. I see 1 or 2 more plants that have it, but you've got to control for that if you really want great fava beans, at least in this area. Back here, we've got some New Zealand spinach. It's not a real spinach, but it does taste a lot like spinach that grows in the heat of the summer. So if you want something in soups or sautés that tastes like spinach in the middle of June or July, this is where the action is. Over here, this is cilantro. We had so much cilantro this spring, but it has all gone to flower or bolted. It's a beautiful, beautiful flower, and then it'll make seeds, and the seeds you can keep them and crush them up, and that's called coriander. And that's how you get cilantro to last you all year round. Moving through here is an empty box. There's just some wood on it. This gets a little windy over here. This was to keep the leaves from blowing out. And when I planted all the boxes, I put all the wood here. That's going to get moved out, and we're going to put our 3rd batch of tomatoes here. Because remember, you spread them out, you get tomatoes all season. Over here we have peppers. They look great. I started these myself. They're really coming along. A couple of points of notes. These are sweet peppers over here. This one here is an experiment in what they call topping plants. A lot of times they tell you to cut the tops of your green peppers off. I've never tried that before, and I didn't actually intentionally try it here, but when we were planting, we snapped off the top, and so you can see what it looks like topped off. But I would compare, say, that to somebody like that. He's quite behind, but he's coming up strong, and you know, it will be interesting. It does look like he's going to be a denser, bushier pepper, so maybe that, especially without supports, that is the way to go. Again, you can follow my channel. We'll be doing updates on that later in the season. Over here is just another interesting one. Is I pull all the flowers off of these peppers. Here, come on around and get that pepper on there. On that one, I left the pepper on there. Just to get like either an earlier pepper to see what happens. You can compare that to even the one that was topped. They're all bigger, and I suspect maybe one reason topping works is because it's taking off all the flowers, and you could definitely just manually take off the flowers of your plants here. So when they're younger, you would just take something like that off, and it'll force the pepper plant to grow more leaves, get bigger before it starts fruiting, which is obviously what you want, because you can see what happens if you let it fruit too early. So there's your pepper tip of the day. Let's go inside the greenhouse and see the last section. Not a ton going on in here right now. We're kind of at the end. This really shines in the spring. These is more arugula that's gone to flower. I'm just going to take a bunch of seed from here in the next couple of days. I'm going to rip all this out and put some other stuff here. Some lettuce that's gone to bolt. We had so much lettuce in here all winter and in the spring, so we were able to eat lettuce for just for a really long extended season because of this. I put some cabbages in here, and again, without protection from the white moths, these are going to have to be pulled out soon. And I always put some tomatoes back here. Here's a celery that was put back here that doesn't have the same issues that the other one did. You can see that it looks really great in a celery or parsley that I just planted next to it that's just trying to get established. But that's the garden tour for 2024. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you did, give it a like, subscribe for more videos, and if you have any questions or comments, leave a comment below. YouTube will suggest some videos for you above. And I'm the Lazy Gardener. Good luck and good gardening.